So my name's Katie Street. I'm the founder of Street Agency, and we basically are, hence the title of this little LinkedIn series, a demand gen agency. We mainly work in the B2B space, but sometimes B2B2C, and predominantly we're, I guess, as it stands today, we work with a lot of marketing tech and larger marketing agencies. So the kind of strategies that we deploy, I think, work for any B2B business. But the real focus that we have this year in terms of what we're trying to develop for our clients, and all of my amazing clients are so with me on this, it's about creating conversation. So no longer is it just that, publishing big lengthy pieces of content. It's about developing spaces, whether it be in online communities like this, and what a great example is so many of you commenting in the comments, thanks guys, but it's creating spaces and places where you can build relationships and have conversations with your prospects, which is exactly why I wanted to start doing lives or webinars again, because it's all well and good me developing the podcast and I have great one-on-one conversations, but that's me having a conversation with one person. So I want to bring you guys in. The power is in people. Because we're B2B, it does not mean that we have to show up like a business. We can and we should be showing up as humans in a very human way. I'm going to let my lovely guests now introduce themselves. So, Anna, do you want to let everyone know a bit about Anna, what you do, and I guess why I invited you here today?
Absolutely, yes. And thank you, Katie, for having me today. It's lovely to be here. So I'm Anna Stone. I have spent my whole career in business development for agencies. I started in cold calling back in the day when that was the way of getting through to people, working for all sorts of interesting agencies, WCRS, Coach and Elliott, Dave, lots of really interesting people, all sorts of different things. I then left to move into a real life agency to have a go at that. I worked with a few independents, smaller agencies, across shopper, across search marketing and integrated. Then I decided to have a go at network. So I moved to Ogilvy. I spent 8 years at Ogilvy. I originally started in the B2B area when they bought a B2B agency and were ramping up that side of the business. I did that for a bit. Then I took over the customer engagement new business role within Ogilvy One as it was. Then I moved into a global role, working with 160 global offices, which was fascinating for seeing how people do new business in different places. Wow. And most recently, I've moved to Hotwire, which is a fabulous integrated and comms agency focusing specifically on tech. We only do tech. That's all we do. So it's a new challenge for me, a bit smaller than Ogilvy, but really, really loving it here. I've been here for a couple of months, so not too many difficult questions on that one. But yeah, really excited to be here. My perspective, as you can hear, is purely agency new business. So that's what I'm looking forward to talking to about.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anna. And literally agency new business royalty. Next up, the lovely Larissa, who I'm stealing away from her beautiful baby because she's on maternity leave. Larissa, would you like to give us a potted history of Larissa as well?
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. Absolute pleasure. And I do apologize in advance if you hear any baby noises or toys and things like that. She would love to participate, so you might see her around. But yeah, so I'm Larissa. I am currently on maternity. I was head of digital for 3 brands within Boohoo Group, so Wallis, Burton, and Dorothy Perkins. Prior to that, I was head of marketing at a gambling brand within Entain called Party Casino. And prior to that, I was agency side all my life. Been working at pretty much every single agency, big or small, on all sorts of brands, from the Googles and Huawei's and Microsofts to like really, really boutique small brands that were just launching. I've been doing both brand and performance and pretty much all channels. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here today and having a chat with these lovely ladies.
Yeah, and I guess, Larissa, you're going to be giving us a bit of the brand view as well as the kind of leading marketing view today, which I think is super interesting because Larissa has worked both agency and client side, and well, on maternity leave at the moment from Boohoo. She has a really great view on how she wants to be marketed to by agencies, and don't all go and plug her too much after this, because she'll be busy looking after her baby. But also the kind of campaigns that they're doing, which I think, in the B2B world, we can learn a lot from B2C, but I also know there were quite a lot of B2C brands joining today as well. So hopefully there's a few of you listening in. So I am going to start with a huge question, and I'm going to come to you first, actually, Anna. So I know what my answer is to this, and I feel like I might know what your answer is to this. What's the biggest thing on your agenda in terms of the tactics that you're going to be deploying in 2024, Anna, to really generate those leads and pull in those sales opportunities?
I think there's a couple of things that are really big for us. I think the power of our own people is really, really important. Everybody within an agency has an amazing network. We've all worked with lots of interesting people, and there's so much you can be doing to, utilize that network, not just in direct outreach, but just in sharing things that the company is doing, and commenting on relevant things. So I think, the power of your people is really, really important. I also think something that we do a lot is about building a community, particularly amongst our clients, is really, really important. If we are working well with our clients, we should really be a true partner to them, right? We should be consultancy, not an agency. We should be people that they trust to have an opinion on, the issues of the day and the things that really matter to them. So I think it's really important that we're having those conversations with our clients, and we're putting together opportunities for our clients to talk to each other as well, and talk about some of these issues kind of all together. So I think those are my two kind of main areas of focus going into next year.
Larissa, you actually had, so going off that, one of the things I mentioned was around how businesses, often, certainly B2B businesses, and I see this all the time still, and I'm, hoping that we're going to start to champion the change today, creating these beautiful long form pieces of content, but not necessarily thinking about the reach that they might be able to get and the conversations they might be able to have on social channels, because of course social channels are there to lead conversation. It's not just about posting the content, it's actually about creating a conversation. So what are you guys seeing, or what kind of tactics have you been receiving and I guess deploying that you're seeing it will be a strong trend for 2024?
Yeah, so I think that obviously working at Boohoo Group, been assaulted from many various different parties, and it's really interesting to see how different people approach the problem. So I've seen some really great ways of approaching and sharing information and educating brands, etc., but also some disasters. So we were talking yesterday about one great example of sharing knowledge and getting to know what a company does. So I recently joined an event from the comfort of my own home, being sent 3 bottles of wine, so 2 bottles of, one red, one white, one champagne, smaller ones. And we had a wine connoisseur on the call with us. And basically we had a couple of hours in the evening, from 6 till 8, where we had around 20 marketeers, including 2 agencies, discussing about all sorts of topics coming up in 2024, hot topics, and all sorts of issues, pain points, but also learning about what these agencies are doing. So for me, that was incredible, because I was at home. If they would have invited me out, I wouldn't have gone. And I just love the fact that you were having a glass of wine with some people, and it felt like Katie's point. It was very professional, but at the same time, it went out of that professional zone, and it felt like all friends are having a chat. I think that is a great way of actually approaching clients, because it makes you feel a lot more comfortable, but also you open up a lot easier after a glass of wine. So that was brilliant. Also, in terms of other ways of sharing content, I think long form content, for me at least, just doesn't work. And I'm being sent millions of emails that are huge white papers and all sorts of interesting resources and stuff, and then it breaks my heart, because I know how much effort and passion people put in these things, and then I don't know who's got the time to read those things, but I definitely don't. So what I rather like, I prefer instead is basically short little videos that I can consume in terms of, this is the pain point of, I don't know, tracking or whatever, attribution, measurement, AI, whatever that might be. He has like 2 minutes to help you, give you some solutions, and kind of on this occasion show you what we can do for you. Or we know that it looks like from your website that you've got these problems and this is how we can help you. So like very short forms. It goes back to like you as a consumer. It doesn't matter that we are professionals and we're talking B2B here. It's similarly what the sort of content we're producing as brands for our consumers. Like no one would produce like a 3-minute video there and put it out there because no one would watch it. We consume short snackable videos, and then bits of information like 3 bullet points in an email. This is the sort of things we do, and this is how we can help you. Bang to the point, and that's it. So yeah, some examples of like nice things I've been part of recently, which really made me happy that people are starting to change the way they are approaching this, because it used to be very old school with big old research papers and things like that.
It's hard, isn't it? Because I think certainly the bigger tech companies and even agencies, they put so much effort into these fantastic and super insightful reports, but who can hand on heart actually say that you've actually sat and read the whole thing? Well, probably my strategy team, actually. Shout out to Nicola and Charlotte. We do try to digest them, but this is the whole point for me. 2024, the biggest thing that you guys can do is have a variation of content and tactics in your strategy. So virtual lives like this, in-person events where you can go and maybe video some talking heads and create some content, turn that, shatter that content down into snackable, easy to digest elements that you can then put onto social channels, whether that's lovely slide shares and quotes, which perform really well on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn definitely should be a priority channel if you're in the B2B world, whether that's short videos, whether that's quotes, whether there's so many different types of content that you can then produce off the back of those kind of bigger pieces of content, whether it's a report, a white paper, an article, an in-person event, a virtual event. Each one of those things should enable you to create, I don't know, between 5 and 10 social posts. Like every podcast that I do, which is half an hour to 45 minutes, we create at least 4 video clips, 4 videos and a trailer. We then create, slide shares, and that will go like the top 5 things that we discovered that you need to know from this podcast. So you don't actually have to listen to the podcast. You don't actually have to join this live. We'll push out some content afterwards, because not everyone wants to consume content tactics, whatever you want to call them, in the same way. So having diversity in your tactics, and maybe planning in Q1 to try a few different things and start to see what lands, but also not giving up too soon, because I think the danger is lots of businesses, everyone wants to see results really early, and you will do, events, for instance, and things like today, we see when we do these for our clients, these produce the opportunities the fastest, because they're let's like get cut to the chase here. They're human. You're seeing a face, you're interacting with people. Humans want to engage with humans. So anything that you do that where you're meeting people and you're building relationships more quickly is going to enable you to, in my mind, get opportunities more quickly. But there's lots of things that sit behind that, and that's what I'm going to ask you next, Anna. So it's all well and good having tactics, and again, we adopt events, content strategies from clients all the time that haven't been landing, and that's usually because they haven't done the strategy right. So when you're developing your go-to-market strategy, what is important?
I mean, I think the key for me is focus and being really, really single-minded. So, like I said, we're an agency that works with tech companies. We like working with people who are changing the world through technology. Everybody in the agency knows that. We know that we're never going to go out and work with, somebody who's selling chocolate bars or toilet roll or anything like that, because that's not our area of expertise. And nobody is going to go prospecting for them because it's not the right thing to do. And I think, you have to have that knowledge, particularly in your agency, of who you're going after and what your business goal is, right? Because that leads you to everything else. So, do you need to focus on retainer clients to give you stability for the next few months? Do you need new clients in a particular area because you want to build up a particular specialism that you're not known for? Is there a perception that you need to change, so you want to find clients in there? Is it about short-term growth, in which case hit the low-hanging fruit? I think that first piece of where do you really need to focus, and then being really single-minded about doing it, makes such a difference, because everything else falls out of that. You were right in everything you were saying, of course, about shattering down the content and everything, and sweating assets is such an important part of that. We should spend as long writing that research report as we should then taking it apart to put into all of those different content forms, right? And if we know exactly who we're going after and why we're good at working with them, that's really key. We work with tech, but we also know we work really well with clients who have an established marketing or comms lead in place. Not necessarily a whole team, but some sort of lead there who's ready to sort of go ahead with that. So again, because we know the people we're targeting, that report that we're going to do is going to be really focused. And then we're going to bring in data to make sure that we are targeting the right people in the right places at the right time. It's everything we do for our clients. Agencies are terrible at it. Obviously, we're always the worst at our own marketing, but actually that makes us really good at focusing, because we've got smaller budgets, less people doing marketing than any of our clients. So we have to focus on less things to make it work.
Yeah, 100%. And that you've hit the nail on the head. Well, various nails on the head there, Anna. Having that laser focus and really understanding who you're for and how you can help them is, I promise you, the most important thing. And it's not, I was talking to someone else about this yesterday, actually, in fact, a client of ours. And it's not just about how you can help the business. The other thing that you really need to think about in your go-to-market strategies and with your tactics is how you can help the person, because, well, Larissa, I think, will stand by this. There's going to be, two things that you want, Larissa, right? Like, I actually had a new business call earlier, but, she made it very clear to me there was a certain part of her, well, we do a lot of demand gen or lead gen events, and she made it very clear to me on the call that, it's just her. She's a small team. She really needs help with, making sure that the events run smoothly, but also getting the right leads there. So I know that now from that, very quickly from that call, and I know that will be the case in lots of businesses that we work with. So you know what, I'm going to start talking more about how we help the individuals more in our marketing content, because I know that's a pain. That I know, if I know lots of people run lead gen events and don't have people show up and haven't got a big enough team to actually make it all work properly, that's a problem I can help my clients solve. So it's making sure that you're talking to the individual's needs as well as the business's needs, if that makes sense. Larissa, I wanted to come to you on that point. I mean, you've kind of started to allude to this already, but what is it that you in your role, usually as a kind of leading digital marketing, certainly client side, what are the things that you at the moment probably need help with most? I'd love to know. Well, you don't right now. You probably need help with baby changing and
yeah. No, so basically, if you've got the magic wand to make my budgets bigger,
yes,
that would be fabulous, right? So I think, so letting jokes aside, I think budget cuts are the biggest problems. And I think that anyone who can come up with ideas and support on like helping me to hit similar business results, but with less money, I think that's an absolute winner. And to be honest, we've had partners in the past year who have been exceptionally useful at that, exceptionally useful of like with coming up with ideas around what are the things, what organic things we should or could be doing and we're not doing in order to get those sales and retain those customers and drive the business forward, given the very hard current economic context. Because it's not just fashion, but a lot of brands are having their budget cuts, and obviously they're turning to their agencies, to their partners, to kind of find solutions. And I've been fortunate enough to work with people who have been advising on certain channels that would have never crossed my mind. So, for example, SEO, I knew that it's a must, and we start doing more and more SEO and investing that, and now we're seeing the results. It's an amazing channel that, if you put enough effort into it, you're going to start seeing some extraordinary performance. And then things like, growing your app and working with partners that allow us to track properly that growth, and allow us to, engage with our customers through the app. That was one channel that, I never thought. I knew its potential because, previous role was in gambling and it was all app, but I never realized its potential for fashion. And again, working with partners and agencies who actually came up with solid numbers and showed us that, look, this could have great potential. I think you should try and test that, and we did, and it worked really well. And now, it's growing and growing and growing, and we're definitely on the right path. So for me personally, it's budget cuts, but still the pressure of delivering the same sort of results. And I want solutions for that, and support, and, innovative solutions that do not cost the earth. Also, the sort of advice, is the same. I think same usual here is like, what's new, what's coming up, how can we test and learn, with even smaller budgets than ever, test and learn. How can we leverage the current technologies to make our lives better? So I was just reading yesterday that apparently marketeers have saved over 2.5 hours per week since implementing AI in their marketing campaigns. I was like, whoa, okay, that's a very strong number, 2.5 hours per week. It's like that adds up to a lot of hours per month, and so on. So I don't know, apparently this is a stat at the moment, but I'm not sure if my marketing team has seen that. So, more support with like rolling AI capabilities, because everyone's talking about it. It's been picked the word of the year by Collins Dictionary, but I don't think as many brands are actually like making the most of it. Probably because we're not educated enough. I don't know. So again, help with that would be great. So I guess these are kind of some of my biggest pain points at the moment.
But it's so true. We all need to scale and do more with less. And actually, there are, this again is a great example of doing more with less. It costs us very minimal amount, much less than even hosting the webinars, to go to a place and host a webinar, host a LinkedIn Live, but same time, on LinkedIn. This is really easy for us to create. It will sit on our, page after we've gone live. This isn't going to cost a fortune. Then creating social assets, on a really basic level, you can use Canva to create stuff really, really quickly. So none of this stuff has to cost you a fortune. And of course, you've then got to get it in front of your audience. You've got to start using some clever platforms in order to do that. But don't think of this as some really big, scary, expensive thing. Yes, some things are more expensive than others, but there are things that you can get started with and tactics that you can deploy, which are going to be really easy and also very cheap for you to do. Anna, tell us at your tech stack.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, this ties so many things that we've been talking about, having that focus, having that cost saving, we've got lots of different tools at our disposal, and a huge amount more that we use for our clients, right? And I guess the most important things that come out of them are the data that allows us to understand who we should be speaking to and what they're searching. So we use intent data a lot. We use that in our search marketing strategy, and we use it actually to help with our overall marketing strategy, to understand what our audience is talking about, where they're talking. I know we were going to talk a bit more about social and B2B, and LinkedIn, as you've hit, is the place where everybody is. There's nothing that new or exciting about that. It's a good place to do business things. We also use ABM because we do that for our clients. And again, we use it for ourselves. So it's another, tactic, not so much a tool. We use various tools to make that happen, but another tactic. Something else though that we haven't quite touched on though, in terms of cost saving and in terms of how we run things, is making sure we're always on. And I think across all the tools and tech and whatever we're using, making sure we've got kind of a constant drumbeat of things happening is kind of really crucial. And I think that's, you know, something that we kind of forget. We get all excited about our one big research report and everything, right? And then we never come back round to it. So I think that's something else that would be interesting to talk about. AI, of course, you know, as you say, the buzzword of the day, right? We're looking at the moment about how we can use AI in our pitch development. Now, obviously, we're not going to get ChatGPT to write our pitch. It's not the way it's going to work, is it? Might be nice, but not realistic. But, you know, there is so much you can do in terms of research, in terms of summarizing things. There's so much available. We're just playing around with different tactics and things you can do. And a conversation we had recently with clients, we did an AI breakfast for our clients last week. So part of our community building, we have a thing called Hotwire Connect, which is where we bring our clients together to do some peer-to-peer chat about you know, things that are trending, things that are exciting, exactly as you were talking about, Larissa. So, you know, it had to be AI. And I think one of the really interesting things to come out of it, working with tech clients, everybody's got an AI product of some description within their portfolio. You know, these guys are fast to market, they're on top of the trends, they're leading them, but very few are using it within their marketing already. And I think that was a really interesting conversation to have about how we can use it. I was chatting to one of the guys in our German office who really is hot on AI, is working with it, is creating things with it all the time. And I loved his analogy that, you know, you can't rely on AI in some ways, but you should use it as a bit of a trusted advisor. It's another point of view. So in the same way, I might ask Katie's point of view on something because I know that she's great at what she does and she's going to have a really good opinion on something I'm doing. I'm going to ask your opinion. I'm not going to take every single word of it and implement it. I'm probably going to apply some of my own thinking. I'm going to disagree with some of it. And I think that's the opportunity for AI that's really, really interesting. And so that's, you know, that's what we're looking into and playing around with at the moment.
Brilliant. That makes total sense. And I would love to know, Anna, which AI platforms you are using. Like, are there any in specific that I mean, we interlace ChatGPT, but yeah, which and not even necessarily AI platforms, but which tech tools are you specifically lacing in? Because we use some pretty clever ones here at Street, from, you know, in terms of getting data and insights. We use ALF, which I talk about a lot, and also Apollo, which are great at not just getting us the data and the contact details, which we can then lead into our automation platforms that actually lead the outreach, but also give us things like buying intent, which powers ABM. We then, to lead the outreach, one of my favorite tools at the moment that has, I would say, changed the game for us at Street over the last 6 months to a year, maybe, since we started using it, maybe 6 months properly, is Meet Alfred, which is a LinkedIn automation tool. It's bloody fantastic. It can do, you know, it can start engaging with your audience, can start connecting with them, can start in-mailing them at scale. But with, you know, it's the gun. It's only as good as the valuable content that you load it with. And then, of course, traditionally we've used lots of different email marketing automation tools, but of course, email marketing is getting harder. And February, there's a huge release, which is going to mean it's even tougher to get into the inbox and not end up in junk. And then, of course, you know, we do use things like ChatGPT to help us do research at scale, because you know, it's easier than Google. It will give you the references, it will give you everything that you need it to do. It will help you summarize the content that you need to make it easy for you to understand, so you don't have to read the full report. And of course, you know, it's a great way to get started sometimes if you've got a bit of writer's block. So there's so many tools out there that we can be using that will mean, you know, creating videos, content is so much quicker, faster, and actually getting it in front of your audience is easier. So I'd love to know, Anna, if you've got any, and don't worry if you haven't, but if you have got any in your arsenal, or the ones that you love, then I'd love to know what they are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole mixture of things that we use, some for us and some for our clients. We use Bombora for intent data a lot. We use Spark Taro to look at publications that people are looking into. Canvas 8 is always great for trend analysis.
Love Canvas 8, yeah, great platform.
Really good. Net-based Quid is great for looking at conversations that are happening in the media. But also we have our own tools. We've got a lot of proprietary tools here. It's one of the reasons I joined here, because there's some really interesting things to talk about and play with. And we've just launched 3 of our own new generative AI tools that we've put together. So one is around looking at enhancing brand messaging through audience intelligence. One is about delivering newsroom services, looking for newsjacking opportunities, and one is about streamlining our news gathering through the use of AI as well. So, you know, we're out there and actually having a crack at these things and building our own based on things that are out there as well, because, you know, again, back to it being a trusted partner, the power is perhaps more in building things out of, you know, what's available, as much as using what's out there too.
Yeah, Larissa, same, I guess, question to you. Are there any tools that you've used in your arsenal recently or in the past that have really helped, I guess, you with your, you know, a slightly different hat on here, kind of leading brand comms, but are there any, you know, because there's a lot of talk, and we do a lot of this with our clients at the moment, you know, composable, headless technologies that enable you to scale your content more quickly. Where's your focus been in terms of technology on the whole to help you, you know, do, I guess, go back to those original things, you know, do more faster with, you know, with leaner budgets?
Yeah, so I guess that for us, one of the biggest pain points is always about measurement and attribution. So as you guys know, we use, you know, variety of channels, right? From paid search to paid social to affiliates, influencers, TV, out of home, magazines, you name it, throw it all in the mix. But then how do you actually know which one has made the sale? And I think if someone's found the holy grail on this, please let me know, because I would give them all my budget. But as it stands, I have not seen a solution to be able to actually throw everything in the mix, like literally a blender, and give me the actual source of the accurate. So, or at least accurately attributed to the correct channel, because, you know, we do out of home, and then all the credit goes to PPC, or all the credit goes to paid social, but they've seen that on actually on a tube post, right? So what we've been trying to do is to incorporate as much as we can deep linking, and working with partners who can do deep linking. So being able to track that app install, that sale, right back at the origin, which, you know, is very hard. And there are various different partners on the market who are claiming they can do it as close to reality as possible. But for me, you know, these sort of tools around measurement, attribution, and tracking the correct point of sale is like, they're absolutely crucial. Then brand watch, obviously, like super important to kind of constantly listen to what people are talking about us, understanding what they want from us, complaints, and then actually like going out there and answering what there is, you know, on social channels. Lots of people use it as a customer service, and then, you know, things like AI, which we don't do enough of. So I was having a chat with someone earlier, actually, around how much AI could help the fashion business, to kind of improve the customer journey. Just think about it. If we could, and technology is there, we just have to implement it, to be able to try on your body a particular item of clothing, right, and see how you look like, if it really suits you or not. It doesn't matter if it fits you, like size wise, but how do, because, you know, we buy lots of things and they fit us, but we don't look good in them, and then we return them, and then number one problem in fashion at the moment, huge number of returns that, you know, have a huge impact on the business and our sales and profitability, but also on the environment, and also creates a very negative experience. So just thinking of ways of like making that customer journey, the CX as we call it, a lot better through AI, you know, to be able to show their body in a particular item of clothing, or to be able to provide a lot more information about the origins of the item, the materials of the item, and everything around that. So, you know, tools to implement that, again, like, have got very big focus for us. And then anything and everything around improving the app experience and getting more app downloads. So these sort of tools are really important for us, because the app has got like absolute focus for the business at the moment. So yeah, completely different from your perspective, guys, but I hope it's helpful for the brands on the call.
Love that. And Erez, thank you. I've just seen Erez comment, it didn't come for the purpose of selling, but they have a data science team as well, which can do the media mix modeling. That could be quite interesting. Maybe we need to
Fabulous.
get you on, Erez. Yeah, that might be handy.
Definitely reach out after the call.
Yeah, please do. I'm super interested to hear that as well. So I'm going to go back to what I am doing for Street and what I'm trying to do. And, we do work predominantly with marketing tech companies these days, but there's also a lot of larger scale agencies that we work with. And on my agenda, massively for Street and for all our clients, is creating community. And it's kind of, I guess, how me, Anna, and Larissa kind of kicked this session off. It's how can you get started creating that community? So before I give all my ideas, because I've got loads, I'm going to come to Anna because I want to hear from you guys. Anna, what is it that what's going to be your approach, and what would you recommend agencies, I guess, specifically do to get started with building their own community? Because it sounds mean like I'm building a community to sell to them, because we kind of are, let's be honest. But it is actually a really valuable community that the community members are going to get value from. So again, are there any platforms that you're planning on using? How are you addressing this, and what could agencies be doing?
Yeah, and I think there's two parts to this as well, right? Because there's a community amongst our prospects and there's a community amongst our clients, which often cross over, but sometimes we keep separately, right? So, I think for me, the key to building a community, and the thing that agencies aren't always very good at, is build it around the pain points of the client. So nothing should ever start with something that you have to sell or an opinion that you have. A point of view on something that is a pain point or a trend or something that everybody is interested in, yes, but that's, that should be your starter point. We've all got clients to go out and talk to, and frankly, we should all be able to reel off all their pain points anyway. But by working out what are the main areas to talk about, that's where we would start building our community. Then I think from a prospecting point of view, that's back to the always on drumbeat. We always need to be talking about what those things are, how we can address them. We need to use our people. All of our execs should be talking about that. We should be promoting the stories, the awards we're winning in that area, everything that resonates with those particular areas, right? And then I think on the client point of view, back to sort of the top of the call, actually, and what I was saying there, and actually what Larissa said as well about bringing together our clients. Obviously it's slightly different for us because of all our clients are tech, but they can still be in hugely different industries with hugely different audiences, right? But are still grappling with some of the same things. So, this is why we formalized here our client community into Hotwire Connect, which it's got a few different parts to it. So we run these events and we offer exclusive IP to our clients based on trends. But then we can use some of, the similar thinking in terms of what we go out to talk to our prospects about, because if they're the right prospects, they should have the same pain points as our clients, right? So we do those sort of events around exclusive IP and around that chance to talk to peers. And we also buddy up our clients as well. So if we've got people, maybe in similar roles, but across different industries or different areas that are struggling with the same thing, we put them together and let them have sort of a bit of it's not quite mentoring because they're normally the same sort of level, but a buddying sort of point of view. And I think, the benefits are huge because, to your point of view, yes, it's good for us because our clients become more advocates and can introduce us to people that they know as well. But it's great for them because we're supporting them, and it makes them realize that we want to grow with them and we want to keep in touch with them as individuals when they move on, as companies in terms of their growth journey. So there's really only benefits to building a community, both client wise and prospect wise. And it's really interesting, and it gives you that constant feedback loop as well to go back to your focus and your topics and your pain points. If you keep talking to people, you keep finding out about these things. So, you know, I'm all for it, and not many agencies do it. I've talked about it at a lot of agencies, and this is one who's actually got on and do it.
It's so brilliant. And honestly, I promise you guys, those of you that take the steps to implement something like this will be the ones that reap the rewards the quickest and, you know, survive and thrive. I know it's really tough. I'm speaking to lots of agencies at the moment, so I know it's really, really tough out there at the minute. But, you know, this approach, and why I call this the demand gen rather than lead gen, you know, demand generation is an ongoing, you know, it's about building, nurturing relationships in the longer term. It's not just, although you will always sometimes need to do that short-term stuff, I'm guessing, especially if you haven't done the long-term stuff before, you know, if you can do this properly, you are never going to worry about where your next opportunity is coming from, because you're always going to have lots of them coming in. Like at Street at the moment, we are insane. I think we counted through, what, like 15 or 16 live opportunities at different opportunity stages at the moment, which is almost too much for me to manage. But that's because I've always taken this always on approach. Just some additional tips to add to what Anna was talking about, because I appreciate we don't have long left, and I also want to ask Larissa some of the questions that you guys have asked. But is, if you are thinking about doing this, exactly like Anna and the team at Hotwire had already done, I guess, branding something up like the Hotwire Connect, giving it a name and something that people can feel they can join, is going to help you. So for me, for this series, it's the demand generation, you know, that will end up being our community club. We're at the very early stages of it at the moment. So thinking about, you know, what you're going to brand it, how you can position it so that it's talking to the needs of your audience, but also taking that multi-channel, multi-tactic approach. So where do you host it? Where do your audience live? Are you going to create it on LinkedIn? Are you going to create it on Guild? Are you going to use both of those? Are you going to also use email to invite people? So reaching how you're going to get to people and how you're going to engage with them, and then the different tactics that you deploy. Are you going to be doing LinkedIn lives, like in-person events, you know, social content? We do all of that, and that's how we recommend to our clients that we do it as well when we're looking at structuring plans. How can we diversify the content? And there might be things that you want to do, like, you know, I don't know, provide, you know, invite, as the community grows, exclusive, you know, first dibs at attending events, first dibs at, you know, watching certain content, or maybe exclusive content just for the members of your community. This, I promise you, is the biggest trend. You can see the B2C brands doing it as well, and, you know, that's why platforms like Instagram have got, I can't remember what it's called now, but the separate channel. So, you know, it's not just about the broadcast messaging that you're putting out on social channels, it's also about the private conversations that you can curate rather than create, if that makes sense. So you can actually be the person that helps put it all together. Guys, you've asked some brilliant questions, and I wanted to try and make sure I put some of them to the lovely, well, Larissa and Anna. We have had someone ask, what new thinking are clients wanting to hear from agencies in 24? Larissa, that feels like definitely one for you.
New thinking. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try and respond as good as I can. But new thinking. So basically, like, think different approaches, right? So rather than like going in and like proposing the same old, try to put yourselves in our shoes and, you know, thinking about what I mentioned earlier about pain points. So try to understand what are the biggest pain points. Budget, I think that's something that stands for all, but then different companies have got different needs. So rather than bucket everyone and create a solution, create bespoke solutions. And I used to work at an agency that was absolutely brilliant at creating bespoke solutions for particular clients they had. So, for example, we used to have a lot of clients that needed geolocation solutions and packages, and that was fantastic because, you know, they were so excited we came up with such an idea because no one else has ever done that. So try to think again, understand what the pain points are, and try to think out of the box in terms of have they ever done this, right? If you've seen that a particular brand has never done that particular thing, try to come up with something proactive and completely new. As I mentioned at Boohoo, so one of our partners, they mentioned they noticed that we're not doing a lot with our app, and they asked, for some stats, for some data. We realized that in-app customers spend 7 times more than non-app customers do. And with that, they came back with an amazing app strategy that had elements of organic but also paid brought together. And they really encouraged us to test it, and we did, and it worked brilliantly. And now that's what we're really focusing on. And also think from an organic perspective, not always paid, because with these budget cuts and issues, I think it's becoming more and more difficult for brands to actually test new things. So if you kind of within organic and paid, I think that's a lot more acceptable than just pushing some really expensive solutions out there. I could go on forever, but I'm just conscious of time, so I hope that answered the question.
Larissa, that was awesome. I think you're so on the money, because it is all about how we, a big part of it is how can we do more with less, and how can you help, the person and the business, the person who's had their budget taken away from them, do more using AI, using different clever tactics. How can you help them reach their business goals with less money? We only have a minute left, but I feel like we might very quickly trying to answer one of John's questions, because I feel mean. Jason, yes, we are being recorded. And I saw someone else ask that earlier. This will be pinned to the Street Agency profile, I think pretty much as soon as we've gone live. And we will probably share it out by email. And of course, because we've banged on about it, create lots of assets from it as well that will make it easy for others that maybe didn't join to understand some of the topics that we spoke about. Anna, I'm going to come to you on one of these questions, which I kind of think we did talk about a little bit, but John's asking, our metrics are not necessarily short-term marketing. What's the best way to communicate the value of marketing to a marketing client when the results are more long-term?
It's a really tough one, right? Because everybody wants to know how fast you can do anything, and anything like that brand that takes a long period of time is tough. I mean, I think part of it actually goes back to the focus bit. Are you talking to the right people that appreciate that that's what they're going to get and the period of time it's going to take? But ultimately, I think there's two things that I would do, my humble opinion. Break it down. Are there any deliverables that you can show on the way through that will be exciting and that will show them on their way, and then on their way to the big goal? So what is the end goal, and how are the ways you can present it? Is that about how they're going to appear in headlines? Is it how people are going to talk about them, where they're going to appear, whatever it is? But it's a bit kind of sell the dream, right? Not just what's the brand that you're giving them. I don't know which area of brand that you work in. Not just what is the brand, but what is that going to allow them to do? They've asked you to look at their brand for a reason. What's their business goal that you're tying that back into? And breaking it down that way might help.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Guys, thank you so much. I've learned a lot, I hope, and I think the rest of you probably have, because there's been quite a few questions and I usually get lovely follow-ups from this. So I hope you found this as useful as I have. My kind of I'm going to pick out 2 really big takeaways. One is focus on your community. I think that is hugely important. 2 is use tech tools. So those are 2 on top of my list. How am I going to develop community? How am I going to use tech tools and AI to help me do more quickly, and with hopefully less money and less people to a certain extent? Not all my lovely staff who are listening, and the third one is on the kind of same kind of vein, more for less, and tech platforms will help you do this. Shatter more of your content, get more from don't just do those bigger pieces. Think about how you can make it really digestible for lovely Larissa and everyone else who's working in the marketing industry who we want to prospect to. So big thank you to my fantastic panelists. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all enjoyed the session, and I very much hope to see you on the next one. Bye everyone.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Larissa.